Ghetto Queen Democrat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett has been on a generational run, saying the most absurd, disrespectful, condescending, out-of-touch things to the American people. Jasmine embodies everything that is wrong and off-putting about the Democrat Party. But just this week, she hit a new all-time low as she made two different statements that reveal just how much hate she has in her heart. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a ton, and it also makes sure that my videos can reach all of my subscribers. But let's start with Jasmine responding to Donald Trump's proposed Doge dividends of $5,000 and just spitting in the face of the American people from her ivory tower. Watch.
Now, President Trump says he likes the idea of giving some of the savings from Doge back to Americans as kind of a dividend. Would you support that?
Listen, he's just telling a lie. He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200 refunds that people had during the midst of COVID. That was done by a Democratic House and Democratic Senate. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us because they already know that there's just no money for that. The only reason that those refunds came before was because we were living in different times. This was a time in which hopefully we won't ever go through again. We had a once in a lifetime pandemic. The bad part is that I don't know if it's once in a lifetime because we know that Ebola, unfortunately, was detected right here in New York here recently. And if we continue down this road of getting rid of scientists or deciding that we don't want to rely on experts as it relates to what they're telling us to do, or we don't want to deal with vaccines and medicine in this country, then we may be facing not only our next pandemic, but our next 2, 3, or 4 pandemics because of their incompetence. So no, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you.
We aren't in the business of giving out money. Since when? What is all the outrage about USAID closing about? What are the drag shows in Colombia then? What are the condoms going to Africa then? What are the DEI initiatives in Serbia then? And I bet all these illegal immigrants would beg to differ, as they cost the taxpayer $100,000 each and get rewarded with free everything for breaking into our country. And let's not forget about Kamala Harris, who, if I'm not mistaken, was offering $25,000 to anybody who wanted to buy a home, and then made a desperate attempt at the end of her race to connect with black people by offering them free grants. Like I said, Jasmine embodies the Democrats perfectly because her unapologetic, blatant lying is exactly why everybody lost trust with Democrats and the mainstream media over the last 4 years, and why all their current Trump and Elon derangement outrage is just falling on deaf ears. And to her statement about $5,000 wouldn't help anybody, what an absolute slap in the face to all of the hardworking Americans who are struggling because of Biden's economy. They want to constantly blame Trump for egg prices increasing, even though Biden shot and killed 100 million chickens. But they at least acknowledge that things are expensive, and they'll talk about how 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, but then want to say $5,000 wouldn't do anything for the average family. It exposes how elitist and out of touch they are, and explains perfectly why they can't connect with any average working American. $5,000 would put most American families in a position that they have a significant cushion. Now here she is on The View, proving once again how much of a partisan hack she is and how little she actually cares about Americans, saying Americans should have liked Joe Biden because he was brain dead. Watch.
Next question, which is, for all of the criticisms that exist of Donald Trump, he right now has a 53% approval rating. It's higher than it's ever been. 70% believe that he's fulfilling his promises, and 45% believe Democrats should be more moderate. What do you take away? I think there's a lot to make of those numbers. What's your takeaway from that?
My takeaway is just like the election. We've got to do better at education. People don't understand, but you will understand when those hospitals in rural America start closing down even more. You will understand when you don't have your Social Security. You will understand when your Medicaid, your Medicare goes away. You will understand as planes continue to fall out of the sky. Soon you will understand why it's important to maybe have somebody that isn't loud and ridiculous, and maybe Sleepy Joe is what we wanted because we could at least sleep at night.
Yeah.
And another thing I cannot stand about her, and you can throw Hakeem Jeffries, Walmart Obama in this, they speak as if they're trying to be rhetorically creative, but it just comes out unimpressive and dull and falls flat. Maybe Sleepy Joe was good because we could sleep at night. No, having a brain-dead president that is being controlled by Obama staffers. that are running the government through the bureaucratic apparatus is not a good thing. No one was sleeping well at night knowing that we were on the verge of World War III. No one was sleeping well at night while kids were being mutilated, while inflation was crushing every American, while the border poured open with criminals and terrorists who took over apartment complexes in America. Her attempts to be witty are just elementary and basic, but she insists on doing it as if people are in the crowd snapping along to her and saying, "You go, girl." Look no further than a couple of weeks ago when the geriatric Democrat leaders hosted that embarrassing protest outside the Treasury, and Jasmine Crockett exposed that she's not smart or clever. She's just vulgar and classless. Take a listen.
Because every day that we show up in D.C., we show up for you. We know who we work for. We know that we work for the American people. And what we're not going to do is stand around while they pull this bullshit that they're trying to pull right now. This is why I'm not going to be able to preach, because I probably won't be able to stop cussing. We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your asses. And we are going to make sure you understand what democracy looks like. And this ain't it. So let me tell you something, Mr. Trump. You're going to learn a few lessons from us.
Like, this is an elected congresswoman who is speaking to the public as if she's drunk in the backyard of some barbecue cookout. Like, I'm sure my lawyer speaks a completely different way with his friends when they're watching the football games on Sunday than he does when he actually represents me when he's working. But Jasmine Crockett can't separate the two because she has no professional side. And the Democrat Party can't say anything about it because of the rules that they established for themselves. As we saw with Kamala Harris, if you criticize a black woman, you are instantly a racist and a misogynist. They are perfect, they are immune from criticism, and how dare you imply that she shouldn't be her authentic self? They're clearly trying to mimic Trump's natural way of speaking to try to have this populist kind of appeal. And while the Democrats continue to go down the road of embarrassing self-destruction through these public antics, they're also losing in the courts to Trump. Here's Jasmine back on The View admitting that the reason Democrats are losing all of these court cases is because they have no evidence Elon Musk or Trump are doing anything wrong and that they're just lying.
I don't really know what's going on, and that is why the attorney general's really had a hard time meeting that burden for TRO, is because we can't say exactly what he's doing. But the problem is we've never in this country, at least in my lifetime and in most other people's lifetimes, experienced someone who is so ingrained. And so we're going to have to start talking to some of these people that are getting fired. Yeah. And we're going to have to find out from them, who is it that told you that you were experiencing your last day at work? Yeah. Talk to us about these little teenagers running around. Was it one of them?
Well, they're doing it through OPM.
Yeah.
Because I have friends that work there, and they got the notice, and they got it from the Office of Personnel Management.
Yeah.
And so, but Doge told OPM to do it.
Right, and that's what we've got to get to the heart of it.
I could testify to that. I know all about that.
So while Donald Trump is doing absolutely fine, a new Quinnipiac poll just released showing that Democrat Congress approval rating just hit an all-time record low at 20% favorability. It reads, 21% of voters approve of the way Democrats in Congress are handling their job, which is an all-time low, while 68% of voters disapprove and 11% did not offer an opinion. The Quinnipiac University poll first asked this question of registered voters in March of 2009. It goes on to say 40% of voters approve of the way Republicans in Congress are handling the job, which is a record high, while 52% disapprove and 8% did not offer an opinion. So while the polls are showing that the Democrat Party is having an identity crisis because they can't put together any policy agenda that resonates with the American people, Jasmine doubles down on the same losing Democrat talking point that it's not their policies that are the problem, it's the messaging that's the problem. Watch.
Congresswoman, there are a lot of people who still are out there wondering, where's the fire and the fight from elected Democrats? Where are they? Why aren't they bringing, fighting fire with fire? Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that critique? And two, do you think the Democrats in Congress are getting better at pushing back against what's happening?
I think that we're struggling from a lot of the things that we struggled from during the campaign, which was that we may be pushing back, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people can hear us or see us. Some of us have the ability to be a little bit more amiable when it comes to working in different types of platforms, and therefore you end up being seen a lot more. I will tell you that I have conversations consistently, day and night. There are so many chats that we have where we are talking about what we're going to do, and we're talking about what we are doing. But a matter of amplifying those things is a lot more difficult.
What makes me optimistic as a Republican is that if she truly believes that the Democrats just have a messaging problem and they need to amplify their message even further, that just means even more people are going to be able to hear how divisive these people are, how much they lie, how much they fearmonger, how much they hate America, how much they're supporting government corruption, how they say things like $5,000 wouldn't help anybody. If their problem is they need a megaphone to help amplify their message, well, I'll happily be their proverbial megaphone, and I'll keep reporting on them, and I'll keep showing people just how awful the Democrats are. And here's where I'm going to show you the second bewildering, crazy thing she said this week, where she proves just how much she hates America by actively rooting against America on The Breakfast Club.
Listen, my thought is that I'm still black in America, and I ain't finna play no kind of games. So I am going to walk the straight and narrow for a number of reasons. Number one, I have some morals about myself. And number two, I know that they would love an opportunity to lock me up, right? Like, I would be the exception to the rule. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Canada has really been the one to call it out. The fact that I'm rooting for Canada and I'm rooting for Mexico a lot is really wild. But they are really the ones that are speaking truth to power right now.
Let me just remind you, all Trump has asked for from both Mexico and Canada is increased border security and more balanced trade. If you have an elected official who is outspokenly rooting against America to achieve these things and believes that we should keep getting taken advantage of, that person should at bare minimum not be a part of Congress, but since they are, be looked into for treason. I don't see how you can hate Trump so much that you're in favor of open, unsafe borders and massive $100 billion trade deficits, both of which harm American citizens. Now, everything I've highlighted about Jasmine Crockett is summed up in this last clip where she goes on MSNBC and gives her ghetto talk talking about Elon Musk. Watch.
Elon, if you're watching, come through, boo, because you haven't shown up to the Doge subcommittee yet.
Right, and you called him out at that subcommittee.
Yes.
But this became weird because Buddy Carter, your colleague from Georgia, started talking about how we were giving condoms to the Taliban, and then Donald Trump himself, then it became about Gaza, but it would have to have been about 7,000 condoms per person, and then he said it was just Hamas, which none of it made sense, but it caused a lot of people to have to run around and follow the story and find out that we give condoms as part of USAID to prevent the spread of HIV to a place in Mozambique called Gaza province.
Correct.
This is the nonsense we have to deal with here.
It's not even just nonsense. It's just that they're idiots.
Like, she doesn't seem relatable. It's not fashionable. It's not fetch for her to speak like that. You look classless and like you have no home training. You're an elected congresswoman and you're going on national TV talking about like, Elon, boo, you can come to the Doge meeting. And on top of that, her and the MSNBC hack prove that the Democrats don't actually care about the fraud and the waste. Elon Musk mistakenly saying that condoms were going to Gaza in the Middle East instead of Gaza province in some country in Africa doesn't take away from the fact that we're spending $50 million on condoms. And the American people see that. And that's why polling for Democrats is at a record low across the board. Because you don't have one single Democrat coming out and applauding the discovery of this fraud, because it goes against their narrative that Elon Musk isn't providing a valuable service to the taxpayer and that Donald Trump won't be able to save the country from financial ruin. But as the old geriatric Democrats start to retire and the vile Jasmine Crockett's and AOC become the new seniority in the Democrat Party, the Republican Party will only get stronger over time, and I will always be there to be the megaphone for the Democrats if they want to amplify their message. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.